Hello, I'm Grace Bubeck, and this is the Awakening is Love retreat. It's the last session for today, Saturday, and it's basically just an occasion to come together to rest in presence and also to share, ask questions. You're free to come onto the Hangout right away if you'd like to. I'm very aware that some people haven't been able to ask their questions. So if you'd like to ask them now, you're very welcome to do so. Let's maybe just, let me just check that the broadcast is actually working. Hold on just a second. Oh, it's just coming on. Okay, perfect. So let's begin by just taking a moment, a few moments. You know, there's been a lot. You've been listening, you've been engaged. Take time to come back to yourself, to this moment, to this body, this being, this mind, in this moment. Probably help to close your eyes. So if you'd like to, please do. It helps to be less distracted by the eyes, and that helps also to be less distracted by the mind. So notice as you close your eyes that you're sitting in one way or another, or maybe relaxing on the sofa. That's totally good too. Or maybe you're walking around because you have back pain. So then you're walking around standing. Just notice what's there in this moment. Notice the sensations of sitting, the contact with the chair, the contact of your feet with the floor. Notice as the breath comes in and out of your body. And notice how your body moves with it. The chest rising as the breath comes in and falling as it goes out. Notice whatever sensations may be there in other parts of your body. Notice what's happening in your solar plexus. Notice what's happening in your chest, in the heart area. Notice what's happening in the head. You may be quite busy with thoughts, and there may be a speediness in the mind, in the forehead, or generally that's felt in the skull. So you notice all of this. There are sensations, there are thoughts, there are feelings. And then there's that which notices all of this. That which notices the thoughts being busy. Is that one busy? That which notices the chest rising and falling with the breath. Is that one moving? That one which notices the physical sensations of sitting, of walking, of standing, of lying. Is that one located in time and space? So as you notice that there is that which is not busy, which does not move, you can rest in that. You can let your whole being be absorbed in that. Spacious being. Enjoy resting. And we'll stay in silent rest for another few minutes. And then we'll come back together to share this human experience. Enjoy the play of questions and answers. All happening in this one spacious being. And when you're ready, embrace this shared experience also, and open your eyes. This is really your space, so we are not as many as on the calls with teachers, so you can share your experience. You can come onto the Hangout also, or express it on the YouTube thread, and we'll see where that takes us. I see that there's Jenna who's on the Hangout. Jenna, are you ready to come on? See whether I can bring you on here. Hello, Jenna. You need to unmute yourself, Jenna. Okay. Can you hear me, Jenna?
I can. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes,
Hi.
I can hear you. Hi, Jenna. Hi. So here you are, and actually for this session I'm showing also the little thumbnails, so people can see also more like the image as it's in the Hangout. Share with us, Jenna.
I actually didn't have a question or anything. I just wanted to come on and see what other people were saying and participate. And
yes, wonderful.
I guess I didn't expect to be on, so I'll take this opportunity to say thank you to you and everyone else who's been a part of the retreat. It makes you feel connected, more connected, and like there are other people that are having the same struggles as you, and it's empowering as well.
Yes, yes. And the beauty of doing this online is that people don't have to travel. You know, sometimes we're quite isolated where we live. I mean, there's no people around us that we could join for satsang or for meditation even. And so in this format, we can come together in this love of truth and this love of being, of this love of love, and share that. And in sharing it, it becomes so much more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Where are you joining us from?
I'm United States, New Jersey.
East Wonderful. Coast. Yeah. Yeah. So what's speaking to you most so far in the retreat?
I joined a little bit late, but I think the last broadcast with
Gina.
Yes, that was definitely, I think, the one that resonated with me the most so far. Because she talks a lot about being, it's a feeling of being stuck, but you're not actually stuck. You know, when you reach a point of that, the dryness is what she was explaining as. And then you almost are in conflict with yourself for a while, and the emotions as well. And you have to, instead of fighting them, let them surface so they can heal and move on. So I really loved that. I really felt empowered listening to her speak about that.
Yeah. Actually, emotions are just part of life. And when we don't resist them, they're part of how life moves through us. And then they actually make us come alive more. So it's like life becomes more colorful that way. And emotions are not a problem. They only become a problem when we resist them, because then we get stuck with them, we get stuck in that kind of distance to them.
Right.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, good to meet you, Jenna, from New Jersey. And I wish you a beautiful retreat, continuation of the retreat.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, you're bringing such a sweetness to it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jenna. So, since we're not that many on the retreat yet, you're welcome to stay on. And I'll bring on Marit. Let's see whether we can show you here. Marit, you need to unmute yourself. Actually, I can do that too. Yeah.
And then, okay, now it's gone.
Now it's gone, yes. Okay. Hello again, Marit.
Hello. I wanted to thank you too, because it's a great way of having a satsang and hearing different teachers saying the same thing, but just in a little different way.
Yes.
And that's, I think it's great, because now I have my teacher, and that is Muji. And I knew Gangaji also because I listened to YouTube videos. But now I heard even more people say in different words the same pointings. And I think that's really great to do it this way. I was really curious how it would work, so I just joined more because of curiosity.
Yes.
But it's wonderful. It's night here now. It's almost 1 o'clock in the night, but I'm really alive.
Yes, it's night here too on the East Coast. I'm still very alive. I just love, what you're saying about the variety. That's what I so appreciate. It's like a bouquet of flowers. I mean, it's all about the same thing, really. But then one teacher kind of comes at it this way, and another teacher comes at it that way. And as we hear these different, slightly different ways of speaking essentially about the same thing, we appreciate it so much more. It's like looking at it from different angles, and we get something from the way one teacher talks about it, and we get something else from another teacher, and so it just all comes together. And thank you for appreciating that so fully and so deeply, Marit, and for being open.
Well, that's probably now the easy part, because in the beginning I got lost in the words. Because the mind wants to capture it.
Yes.
And then after I once put a question to Muji about what does heart mean, then suddenly I got it, that all those words are not so important. It's not in the words. You should hear, if you hear a little deeper than just those words, then you can, you hear it with the heart.
Yes. Yes.
And that makes it more appreciative.
Yes, I just, it's like the mind then becomes another sense organ. It's like you take in through the mind, but it just doesn't stay in the mind. It
Right.
registers somewhere much more deeply, which is more like the heart. Like
And
this.
it's not listening with wanting to know something. There's nothing to know.
Yes.
That's what the ego wants to be.
Yeah.
But now I'm really happy that I know nothing and that I am nothing.
Yes, isn't that amazing?
Yes. So things can change.
Yes. Such a liberation.
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
So this is really great. Just that it's the internet itself, that
Yes.
it's possible, the technology that it works all together, and how grace works with it, because technology is not just a human thing, but it works all together. That's so
Yes.
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
If I can add something,
Yes, you
Yes.
can. Of course you can.
what you're saying about technology, I think this is a perfect example of how we should embrace it
Mm.
as a tool, something to use to connect and to deepen our connection in the heart as well. Because I think the mind, if you're looking at our body, I think the mind is actually almost technology, as you will, and the rest of us is just processing it. So depending so much on technology is almost, I equate it to depending on the mind too heavily. But when you use it as a tool to understand and to connect, I think it can do amazing things.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yes.
so true.
Wonderful. So Jenna, I'm just wanting to bring on Layla. Hello, Layla. Can you hear me? Because Layla has been trying to come on for the longest time.
Oh yes.
Layla, I'm trying to unmute you, but I'm not able to. Can you unmute yourself? Talking about technology, sometimes it doesn't work so
Yes.
well.
But perhaps that's also grace. You never
Yeah.
know.
So I think Layla's connection maybe isn't quite so good. So we can't. Layla, keep trying to unmute yourself. We'll get you on there eventually. You click on the top black bar. You click on the microphone sign to unmute yourself. And I'm trying too, but I can't seem to shift. I can't seem to shift it.
Make sure that your browser is able to access your microphone and that you don't have any privacy settings up. So that might do it.
Layla, there's something that just isn't happening there. Are you actually trying to unmute yourself?
Yes, she's nodding,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Okay. To the YouTube comment thread, and I'm just going to look at some comments and see whether there are any questions, and answer those for the moment, for the time being. And then we'll see when Layla comes on, just kind of, just make yourself known. So, let's see. Thomas says, thank you, Grace. I needed this retreat. Not travel anywhere. I'm glad, yes. You know, when you plug yourself into truth, somehow it just makes you come alive. Anthony Reynolds from New Mexico. Grace, thank you for the meditation. It was a good rest from earlier. Yes. So how did you know exactly when to make a move into facilitating teaching from a state of presence? Huh. You know, Anthony, that comes by itself. It's like, you know, the mind thinks it needs to figure that one out, but actually, when it's time, it happens. Like, you know, I started doing these internet retreats about a year ago, and it just came to me. It happened so very gradually, and this is so typical of how things unfold. To start with, I just had the idea of actually doing groups on the internet. And so I did a course in internet, in doing things on the internet. And one thing led to another, and really the only thing that seemed to happen in the end was the idea that I had and that I started moving on to organize a retreat with non-dual spiritual teachers. So the first one I organized last November, almost a year ago, on the topic of healing and awakening from a non-dual perspective. And things just unfolded from there. So I had no idea that this would become a series of retreats. You see, I started off with just having this vision of doing groups on the internet, actually. But somehow the groups didn't happen. But the retreat happened. And then another retreat happened. And so that's how it started happening. It's really an unfolding that comes through me, you know, but that's not me that's doing it. As long as you have an idea that it's you who wants to do this, it's not quite it yet. It's not quite time yet. You know, there may be an impatience, and there may be a knowing that maybe you're called to teach, but it will happen when the time is right and when you're really ready, not when your mind thinks you're ready. I hope that answers your question. So, meanwhile, Tomas has joined us. So, Tomas, I'll bring you on in a minute. I'm just very aware that I want to get back to Layla. Layla, do you want to? She doesn't seem to be able to unmute yourself. So Layla, you were asking a question earlier. Would you mind just putting that again on the YouTube thread, and I'll answer it if you put it there. I know you have a question, but I can't quite recall it. Yeah, please. please just put it again on the YouTube thread. And I'll make sure to respond to it. Okay, so Tomas. Hi.
Hi.
You're on. Yeah, those beautiful eyes again. You're sharing such beautiful presence with us, Thomas. Thank you. Mm. You know my own teacher, Gangaji, sometimes she would just tell people to look out onto, everybody who was sitting there. Because presence was just radiating from people. And you're just bringing that to all of us. So just let us see your beautiful presence, and just drink it in, everybody. Yeah. Mm. We're so blessed to nourish each other in those ways. And it doesn't even have to be a teacher. Sometimes it's just another human being or an animal that just radiates. Or a forest, or a flower, or the universe. It's all an expression of that beauty, of that beingness. So you're all bringing that to us. Tomas is bringing that to us. Tomas, do you want to ask a question or share anything with us, or you're
Sure.
just happy to? Yeah, go ahead.
Feels like such a relief to be able to connect with present beings that I don't get a chance to encounter where I live in Poland. Everybody's busy, always doing something. Seems like sometimes it feels like very, very lonely.
Yes.
And it's great to see that there are others like that who are present.
Yes. Yes. Humanly, we need that. We need the company of others.
Yes.
And in the Buddhist tradition, Sangha, the community of others, is one of the jewels, one of the three jewels. For that reason, it's so supportive to us and to others, this coming together to share truth instead of sharing busyness and controlling and, drama and whatever it is. It nurtures, us so deeply, and it allows us to to fall into truth and being so much more deeply. You know, it's like because the bug somehow just catches us all the time, more and more. So yes, and you know, Thomas, I just want to say there comes a time when, you know, realization has settled in more deeply, when the need for others, for Sangha, for others who are in that truth, becomes less urgent because we are much more settled in it. You know, we're just ready to be that wherever we are, and whether others around us recognize it or not, at some point just doesn't matter anymore. Because you're that for them. You become that for them.
Correct. Absolutely.
But as long as there is a felt need for community with others, you know, like Jenna expressed too, by all means, you know, search for it, look for it, try and find it.
Really look for it, tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
It just, I don't know how I discovered this.
Well, so maybe Sangha discovered you.
Yes, absolutely.
And Tomas, you know, Poland is so lucky to have you. So you just need to let yourself shine.
It seems like this grace, it always feeds you at the correct moment.
Yes.
Like, you know, I haven't been to a retreat for about 6 months, and it was perfectly fine. I mean, perfectly fine. But just a moment when I kind of felt just close to desperation, boom, this comes up, like with no effort. And then it's like, I'm ready to go again. I got energy.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Grace has its ways. Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, I'm happy for you to have found us, Thomas. So I'm going to take another little peek at the YouTube thread. Okay, so Layla is sharing her question. I'm just going to read that out and respond to it. She had a question for Gina. She says she has had strange energetic experiences in the night. It changes, but I often feel that I am going to die, or I don't know where I am. Energetically, she means. My question to Gina was about energetic experiences. I've had in the night for about 29 years. It varies, but often I feel I am about to die. I feel sometimes scared as I have a child to look after. I try to watch it, but it is difficult. So, Layla, I'm going to respond to your question. If you want to get back to me, just keep writing on the YouTube thread, okay? You know, my understanding is, and really I say that with all humility, because I don't know your circumstances really. I can only respond to what I intuit about them. You know, sometimes we have, it's almost like life themes. And these life themes will show up over and over and over. Because they're looking, you know, somehow they're coming to be healed, or they're coming to be resolved, or they're coming to be released. They're coming to be liberated, to be freed. So the egoic mind, you know, the mind that's afraid and that wants to keep control of things, thinks that there's a problem that it has to control. So for the egoic mind, you know, somehow these experiences you have at night are a problem and you need to control them. And as long as you're trying to control them, as long as you're resisting that experience, and you want it to go away, it will come back. So it's come back for 29 years to you. I wonder what would happen if you were willing just that one time to not resist the experience. If you were open to saying, okay, here I am. I'm willing to feel this sense of dying. I'm just willing to feel it. And of course, you know, the egoic mind will come in and say, well, you can't let yourself die. You have a child to look after. But notice that the egoic mind makes you believe that you will die when you open to that experience. But actually, that's not the case. You know, whatever experience we resist, ultimately we resist because we think that actually fully feeling it is like dying. You know, we're just going to be taken over by this physical pain or emotional pain, and we're not going to survive it. So that's why we're resisting it, you know, because that's what the survival mechanism that runs the ego, that's what it does. It wants to stay alive at all costs. But the cost of that wanting to stay alive is actually to never be fully alive, because we're forever resisting experiences. And we're forever restricting how do I say that? We're forever restricting the possibility of what life could turn out to be for us in this moment. Because there's so much that's excluded all the time. You know, it's like life can't be that, it can't be that, that's not safe, that's not okay, that's not, you know, that's not going to work. Whatever it is, you know, there's so many reasons. So it can be so liberating to just once not do that, not resist, not find another reason for why you can't. Just be present to this experience that's been wanting to be there, that's been calling you for 29 years, Layla. That's a long time. And you may have a sense of it haunting you. And of course, when you were younger as a child, it was very scary and very frightening. And for sure you couldn't, you didn't know what to do then. And so the pushing away of it or the trying to fix it is very understandable. But you're adult now, and you can actually, your heart can handle anything.
Oh yeah.
Your heart can handle whatever shows up. If only you're willing for it to take its place in your heart, in your being. That spaciousness is, it won't die. And there's a space for everything. There's a space for everything. So maybe tonight, if it shows up, see whether you can just allow it to be there. So she says, I'm just looking at the comment thread. She says 20 years. 20 years is enough too. It doesn't have to be 29. 20 years is long enough. And she says, it seems no matter how relaxed I am, it is still there. So this is different from trying to observe, she says. So I feel it rather than trying to observe. Yes, because trying to observe.
That's a person.
It's just another strategy of staying at a distance from it. Don't try anything. Let it have you. That's what my teacher used to say. Let it have you. It doesn't mean you're going to die. It just means you're no longer resisting the experience. Just once, just that one time, be willing to feel it fully, to experience it totally, without any resistance. That's how Ramana Maharshi woke up. He was willing to experience what it was like to die. And look what it gave to him and what it gave to the world. So much freedom. And that's possible for everybody. That's possible for you. But don't have an agenda. Just be willing to experience what's there for you, what's coming to be fully embraced by you. And it may help you to understand that may be a past life experience that simply is still with you in this life, and that wants to be healed, that wants to be freed. Finally, instead of having that terrible experience of dying, it wants to be held in a space of being that knows it can't die, but the body will die. So when it is held like this, it is also freed. It's healed. And often these past life things, or things that come to us from our parents or ancestors. They come through us when we lead lives that are lives dedicated to freedom. They come to us because they can be freed by us. Finally they can be laid to rest. So whatever is haunting you, whatever is troubling you, just assume that it's there to be liberated. And that if it comes to you, you have it in you to bear it, to open to it, and for it to free you, finally. So, yes, the peace that you feel listening to me is the peace of no longer resisting. This opening inside that says, oh, okay, maybe this is just part of life that's showing up. And don't analyze it too much. Maybe it's a fear of death, maybe it isn't. But that's not really important. What's important is that you're willing to experience it for whatever it is in that moment. Yeah. And there's a question from Anthony. Grace, how is one certain of the existence of past lives? If I answer that question personally, I can tell you how I know about past lives, because at some point they just started coming to me. They come to some people, they don't come to other people. It's not a big deal. If they show up, you just receive them just as you receive everything else. If there is a need for resolution, they'll be resolved. They'll show up when it's time. They'll show up when, if that's part of what's wanting to be liberated through you in this lifetime. If they don't show up, it's not a big deal either. Then you just are as you are in this life. Don't worry about it too much. We can get very kind of mental about these things. And it can be fun, it can be fun to analyze things like this. But ultimately, the bottom line always is, are you willing to be open to it when it arrives, when it's there, without analyzing it, because analyzing it is another subtle form of resisting it. As if you could understand it that way, if it's part of the movement of liberation, that you will come to understand where it comes from, then that's perfect, then that's part of the liberation. But if you don't understand it, and if you're just there with it and just say, okay, this is what's there, then that's all that's needed. Sometimes you don't need to understand. And understanding doesn't add anything. But if understanding comes to happen just because part of the meeting of this, of the opening to this, gives you more information, well, then it's perfect. Then you've understood something. Okay, so there's a question by Brooke. Grace, I want peace and freedom. I was on an antidepressant for 14 years since my husband died. I took myself off and now I'm watching anger and lack of patience appear. It feels that my ego mind is taking control, but I don't want to be back on medication, walking around like a zombie. Brooke, you know, it takes a lot of courage to take yourself off antidepressants. And just medically speaking, because the body is so habituated to drugs when you've been taking drugs for a while, that it's really recommended to do it very slowly so that the body can adjust gradually. And yes, depending on the kind of antidepressant you take, you know, certain feelings will show up more strongly. And Brooke says not being on medication gave me my feelings and emotions back. Yes, totally. And you know, for a while, you may need to be willing to feel both the so-called negative and the positive emotions. You know, it's really a gift to be able to feel both. And that's why you took yourself off the medication. So now what you can do is just be present to all of them. You know, it's like eating food that some of it tastes good, some of it tastes not so good. But somehow it's like all of that is part of your experience. And there can be just a willingness for it to just flow through without being analyzed, without being judged, without being resisted. And the less you resist, the less the negative emotions will trouble you. You know, if you're angry, be angry. You don't have to act out the anger. But when you allow it to just be there, you know, as anger, it's just basically a strong energy. And it can actually give you a lot of energy. If you allow it to be just that, without the story of who did what to me, or what should be different, or who should have done something different, you know, if you drop all that, if you drop all the interpretation of why you're angry, the story of why you're angry, and you're just there feeling that energy, that pure energy.
Can I add something to it?
Who knows what's going to happen? Yes, Marit, please go ahead.
Because if you, Brooke, if you can feel the feelings, it means that you can watch them. And that means you are not your feelings. They are happening, but you are not your feelings. Not the negative, not the positive. You can watch them. And that space that you create watching them, that gives you also the opportunity to just allow them and to bring them into the light. And that gives clarity.
Yes. You know, I know that's how Muji teaches, you know, experiencing the emotions. I just add a little caveat. I mean, you know, sometimes people use the idea of watching the emotion as a subtle way of resisting it, as a subtle way of keeping it at a distance.
Okay.
And then it's not helpful, because then it gets you stuck in that resistance. And then what happens is that the experience of self becomes very dry. You know, it becomes very stuck and in some ways meaningless. That's what we were talking about earlier with Gina.
Mhm.
So watching is good as long as there's a willingness to feel fully.
Exactly. Well, it goes together.
Yes, yes.
But when she just is feeling and too close to it,
Mm-hmm.
then it's fearful sometimes.
Yes, yes.
So it's the combination of the two, that you are
Mm-hmm.
really sure that what you are feeling is not who you are really.
Yes, yes.
I can add something.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
Jenna.
Brooke, I actually I started typing on YouTube, but it's easier just to speak, I guess. I'm actually still having withdrawal symptoms. I was on an antidepressant for about 5 years. I got off in May. Um, this was like it's been like the most intense 6 months of my entire life.
Mm.
Um, I I don't know about you in terms of physical symptoms, but I was bedridden for over a month, and it's crazy. And they tell you there's no symptoms, but they're lying. So I just wanted to let you know, because a lot of people have told me that, no, you're making this up or it's psychosomatic. It's real. And in my experience right now, it's finally, I feel like it's out of my system and I'm starting to get back into my normal self, which I'm not sure what that is anymore. But all those emotions that were so suppressed and numbed, and because I know what you mean, zombie, like complete zombie, I feel like they're all coming forth very, very strongly now. And so I'll just start crying for no reason, or I'll get really angry, and it's so intense. And I have a feeling that it's not like this forever. It's just now we have to rebalance because we've suppressed this for so long. It needs to find a way out,
Yes.
and it scares me a lot. But, stuff like this and having conversations and connecting with you and other people, um, it's empowering and it allows you to be okay with it, because you get overwhelmed with depression or anger or something, and you want to fight it. You feel like, what's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. But other people are having this too, and it's just, I feel like it's a stop, or it's on the path to healing.
Yes. And I'm sure you're much more alive now than you were before you went off the antidepressants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't, I've even had an experience of being able to see energies now. Very, very, very slightly, but I wasn't able to then, or connect with people, or have an intuitive, almost like telepathic connection where there was no way I could have that before, So
Yes.
a lot of things are coming to the surface.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jenna. This is so beautiful, because I'm sure that gives a lot of hope to Brooke to see you like this. And I just want to add, this move from there are all these feelings to what is wrong with me. This is what Muji said. When you take it personally, you're in trouble. If you make that move from the emotion to identity, like this is something that's about me, then you're in trouble. If you keep yourself out of the picture and you just literally it's just like the emotions just happening here, in this body-mind. But it means nothing at all about you, because you're not that. You're not these emotions. You're just a place where they happen. And then, they don't need to be resisted. They just need to be felt.
Can I say something?
Yeah, just a sec. It is true that with time, things will stabilize, the body will find a new equilibrium with that, but for a while it may be a bit intense. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I had similar experience with antidepressants some time ago, and yes, it's a huge it's a trip when you get off of them, seriously. And everything that was suppressed just explodes pretty much. It has to come up, has to be seen, all the bubbles have to boop, Yeah. And just stay present, that's all, Just watch, and they all just pass through, just zoom through, and you regain yourself pretty much. Yeah. I've been through this, yeah.
Me too.
Wonderful. So, I never took antidepressants, but I figure I came very close about 20 years ago, except that at that point, doctors didn't prescribe antidepressants quite as readily as they do now. So I was. So we'll need to close for today. I just want to thank you all. I mean, look at what a rich sharing that has turned out to be. And I'm sure we're not the only ones. There are so many out there these days who struggle with antidepressants, who are, or who struggle with feelings full stop. I mean, who doesn't, right? Who doesn't? So that's part of the fuel that burns us clean. And as such, we can embrace it. And Muji is so right in saying that if there's a willingness to burn, in the fire of the emotions, in the fire of whatever shows up, whatever scary experience haunts us in the night, if we're willing to burn, then it just frees us more and more fully. So on that note, I wish you a good night. Thank you for being there on this retreat. Thank you for sharing so fully. Yeah. And we'll see you tomorrow for the video of William Freak. And there's going to be a relatively short session after, and then we'll continue with Namala. So until then.
Night.
Good night.